What's going on, everybody? Today, I want to talk about how to get through college if you have social anxiety. I think at some point I'll make a video about how to get through high school, and maybe another one about how to go to work or how to deal with a job if you have social anxiety, but all of those situations are a little bit different. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get through college if you have social anxiety. And if you've heard my previous episodes, you've probably heard me say at some point that I struggled with social anxiety really bad in college to the point where I nearly failed out. And I think this is a lot more common than people admit to or people know about, is that I think a lot of people who fail out of college probably do so because they're struggling with either social anxiety or some other mental health condition that people don't talk about. They're ashamed, they're embarrassed, and it goes untreated, and your grades drop, and it's just a whole mess. And unfortunately, at least when I was in college, I don't know if it's changed. It seems like the culture has changed, but the numbers of people with social anxiety has not changed. So I don't know how much help people are really getting, but I wonder how much help there really is on these campuses because I didn't get any help. Now, granted, I didn't really look for help, but it didn't seem like there was an effort by the university to try to help people who were struggling. So the first thing I would say is that if you have social anxiety and you're going into college or you're already in college, the first thing you got to do is admit that you have social anxiety. And if you're listening to this, you probably already have accepted that fact. And again, I can't diagnose you. I'm talking about just from your own personal subjective experience, you struggle socially. And so it's important to admit that because sometimes that's the hardest part is just admitting that you have it. When I went to college, I couldn't admit that to myself. I don't think I realized that what I had was a problem and was anxiety until way later. And then upon reflection, I realized, oh no, that this was a problem. Like this was not healthy. Because when you don't see it as a problem, you either think, well, something's wrong with me, I'm weird, right? Not in like a technical sense, but you have this unexplained problem that doesn't get defined, and so you can't take action on it. And two, because I think I was too ashamed. And with social anxiety, there's of course a lot of shame around it, especially in college, because there's a lot of expectation to be social, right? To make friends, obviously to participate in class. There's all these things. So number one, you got to accept that you have it. If you're struggling with it, if you think you have it, the first thing I would recommend is go get some help. Okay, if you're not already in therapy, if you haven't tried therapy before, that's the first thing you need to do, of course. But let's assume you're doing all that or you tried all that, and now you're like, okay, well, what else can I do? The next thing that's really important, I think, with social anxiety is that there is going to be a heavy, heavy, heavy temptation to drink and to use drugs. Very heavy temptation to do these things. Now, it's not always the case that people with social anxiety will drink or use drugs, but there is a lot of reason to do so, right? Because unfortunately, alcohol is very good. It is very good at relieving social anxiety. And if you're in college, there are very good reasons to drink, or at least it seems to be, because people are going to invite you out. You're going to feel the desire to want to mingle, to make friends, and to fit in. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure, not only externally, but internally, to drink and to have a good time. If you don't feel like you're ready to be able to tell someone no because you're worried about what they're going to say or whether they're going to judge you, if they're going to pressure you into it, I would be really careful just yet about accepting invitations to parties. If you don't think you could say no to a drink because you're going to feel pressured and you're going to feel embarrassed if people make fun of you for not drinking, I would be very careful about going to parties just yet, because it's going to be very easy for you to fall into that temptation to drink. And once you fall into that temptation, it can get bad very fast, because if you don't drink now, that's great. And I hope that continues. If you do drink, you probably already know, again, that social anxiety is really good at masking the symptoms, and it will make you more sociable, and it might even help you make friends. And so there's this counterintuitive thing where, of course, we want to make friends, but you really want to be careful about going the alcohol route. I'm not saying don't ever drink. Obviously, like, have a good time, have fun. But if you can only be around people, if you can only socialize while you're drinking, what's going to happen is you're going to start using that for everything. You're going to start using that to get to class. You're going to start using that to get through presentations. You're going to start using that just to get through your day. Okay? Now, for some of you, your experience is going to be different, right? If you're living on campus versus maybe if you're commuting. Maybe if you're commuting, you'll be less likely to drink, to go to parties, because you won't have as much freedom. You're going to have to drive and such. But if you're on campus, be very careful about the temptation to drink. So if you already have a drinking issue, or you think you're going to struggle with that, just be really careful about that and make sure you're getting help for the drinking itself, because it can get very bad very quickly. And what happens is that the anxiety will start to get worse if you start drinking, because not only are you now depending on the alcohol to get through these moments, but alcohol makes you anxious generally the next day. I mean, most people, when they wake up from drinking, they feel terrible, right? You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel more anxious. You're going to be more in your head. You're going to be dwelling more and more about the stupid things that you did the night before. And it's going to be more likely that you did stupid things the night before because you were drinking. So it's really just a mess you want to avoid. Okay? And on top of that, I'm just going to say this flat out. Now, I don't want to give you life advice, of course, but honestly, if you don't think that right now you could go to classes consistently because your social anxiety is that bad, I would reconsider going to college right away, because there is a risk that you could spend a lot of money, waste a lot of money, waste a lot of time. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but it's a conversation you might want to have maybe with your therapist or with your parents if they're involved and they know what's going on, because there's going to be a lot of pressure to go to class, to participate in class. And a lot of times what happens with social anxiety is if you're not able to do the things you need to do, like get to class, and you start missing assignments and your grades start dropping, and then you feel like you're a failure, and then you're going to get depressed, you really want to be careful about jumping into something if you're not quite ready. So if it's really, really severe, like you don't think you could even go to class, you might want to think about whether it's the right time. Okay. Now, if that isn't an option, or you just simply think, no, I need to go to college, I'm ready for it, then of course you should go and have this experience, because it is important for you. I'm not trying to make this sound negative. I mean, I think ultimately college will be very helpful for you if you have social anxiety, because it will force you to socialize as long as you take advantage of it. Because otherwise, if you're not in a confined space where other people are socializing, it's very easy for you to make up excuses to not socialize, or to find, just find a comfortable life and remain in that comfortable life. So the good thing about college is it's going to force situations upon you. So what I would recommend if you are in college is you want to take advantage of opportunities. Number one, that don't involve drinking, preferably maybe in the daytime, just so that there's less opportunity for drinking. And three, the other thing you want to understand is that you are not going to be the only one who is struggling with this thing. Even for people who maybe weren't anxious before college, they often struggle with making that change to college, right? Maybe you take someone who in high school didn't really have a problem socializing. Now they're thrown into a whole new environment. They don't know anybody. Most people who are going to college, they're going to be the only people, they're not going to know many people there, right? They may not know anybody there. So take advantage of the fact that other people are going to be in a similar boat. Maybe they don't have the exact same issues as you, the exact same anxiety, but they're looking to connect. They're looking to make friends. So what I would recommend, if you have social anxiety, I know this is really hard, take as many early opportunities as you can. Rip the Band-Aid off. If your college offers an orientation, for example, make sure you go to that orientation, and make sure you make some attempts to interact with people right away, because what's going to happen over time, and look, this isn't like a death sentence if you don't do it, but what's going to happen is people are going to start to form their groups. And generally, if we have social anxiety, the more people start to form their groups and start to make their own social network, we feel more and more isolated, right? So what I would recommend is as soon as you get there, as soon as you get to an orientation, you're going to remind yourself, everybody's in the same boat as you. Everybody's looking to make friends. Everybody is looking to connect. Now, does that mean everybody's going to be nice to you and everybody's going to be open-minded to you? No, of course not. But if you take enough chances, if you take enough swings, you will find people, okay? And if you're living on campus, you're going to have even more opportunities because you're going to get a chance to maybe live with roommates, or live with dorm mates. So make an opportunity early on to connect with people if you can. I know it's very hard, but I would recommend early on make those connections before things start to get out of control and people start to make their separate groups, because after that, then you're going to have to really put in more legwork. And it's not that that's impossible, but because of the fact that you're already struggling, it's going to be another barrier to entry, right? If people are already making friends and now people have their friend groups and now we have to find other ways to get in with groups, that's going to be a little harder. Again, not impossible, but this is just something, typical avoidance, right? We get somewhere, we're really anxious, and we say, I'll make friends later, or I'll deal with this later, or I'll talk to people later. The first day of class, when you walk into those classrooms, say hello to the three people sitting around you. Try to say hello to people right away so that you can start to form a connection, so that you can feel some comfort, some level of comfort there, so that the next time you're there, if you go there the second or third time and you see people already chatting with each other and you see them making friends, you're going to feel more and more isolated. So if you're going to college, make the leap right away. As soon as you get into your first class, look, maybe if depending on what makes you more comfortable, you figure out if you want to get there a little earlier or a little later. Obviously get there before the class starts, but I'm saying if you want to wait for some people to get in there first, right, and see who's sitting where and who looks maybe more approachable, right, and see, okay, let's make it easy for myself in the beginning, right? We can do the hard stuff at some point, but in the beginning, why make it harder for yourself, right? Let's try to build some connections early. So you get in there and you try to talk to people as soon as you can. And I would have the same recommendation for the actual in class. When you're in class, as much as you can, try to participate early on in the classroom, okay? Because again, what's going to happen is you're going to see other people maybe interacting with the professor. You're going to see other people interacting with each other, forming groups, and it's going to make it harder and harder for you to reach out and to speak up because you're going to feel so isolated. So as hard as it is, and I know it's really hard, if you rip that Band-Aid off first, it will get easier. Okay, and I know this from experience too, because I didn't do that. Okay, I did the exact opposite. I didn't talk to anybody in my classes. I was lucky enough that I made some friends in my dorm room, my dorm building in general. But I didn't make any friends in my classes. I didn't make any friends in orientation, and it put a lot of pressure on me because I started seeing, and we're hyper aware people, right? We see everything that's going on. We see people talking to people, we see people making connections, and that we feel like there's something wrong with us, and then all that self-doubt starts to kick in. So do it right away, okay? Another thing I would recommend is don't write off weird possible social situations. What I mean by that is don't assume that the only way you can meet people is by going to a group or in class or in your dorm room. Those things are important, and if there's groups that you can join, that's great. I'm going to recommend join a group right away, right? Get into some kind of group that you're interested in that you can get into right away. But you can make friends at college anywhere. You almost want to see college as a different world. It's not like the rest of society, right? You walk down the street in just your everyday life, and right now you might feel like well, what's the context here? I had a video recently about context and how we need to throw context out completely, but you may not be there yet, right? And you might have a hard time. Well, how do I just approach someone? How do I just talk to someone? How do I try to engage with someone just out of the blue, right? I'm walking down the street. I can't just walk up to someone and start talking to them and try to be their friend. In college, you kind of can do that, right? Because again, everybody's there for the same reason. Obviously, they're there to learn, but they're there to socialize. You find any opportunity to socialize. You're in a cafeteria on the lunch line, and there's someone standing next to you. Just see if you can just utter the words hello to them. Ask them about their early college experiences. Make it easy for you initially. If you struggle with conversation about what to talk about, again, you can please listen to my past podcasts about how to start conversations. But an easy starter is talk about what the experience is like for them coming to this new university. Where are they from? There are so many easy opportunities early on. People are excited. People are nervous. People are anxious. People feel alone. But people want to connect. So take that opportunity early on. Every opportunity you get. If you see someone that looks approachable, that you think, oh, this looks like this could be a friendly person, every cell in your body is going to be screaming at you, don't. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. Because if you don't do it then, and time keeps ticking, what's going to happen is you're going to look around you and see that you're going to feel more and more isolated. And again, that doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's going to make it harder. Now, if you're someone who's already in college, like this is your second and third year, maybe you've been struggling to make friends, I want to also point out, it's not over for you. Okay, I'm not sitting here, I'm not trying to suggest that, well, it's over now, you didn't make your friends in the beginning, you're screwed. You're not screwed at all, okay? Because again, first of all, there's a lot of people in your boat. You may not even realize it, but there's a lot of people who go through the same thing, whether they're commuters or whether they live on campus. People struggle. People really struggle. There's so many adaptations you have to make going to college. Whether it's social anxiety, some people are depressed, some people have life problems going on. There's so many reasons. So don't assume that you're behind. When I'm talking about before, when I was talking about feeling behind, I want to point out that's just a feeling, right? And when we have social anxiety, we look around, we're very hyper aware, we start to look and see, oh my God, these groups, they seem to be growing, I'm not making any friends, and then we count ourselves out. I'm just saying that knowing the psyche of someone with social anxiety. I'm not saying that to suggest that that is true or that's the way it should be or that you're stuck now, okay? Because let's say if you're a sophomore, junior, even if you're a senior, okay? Because my social anxiety, I was supposed to take a speech class freshman year. I couldn't handle it. I dropped out of the class. I skipped it sophomore year, junior year, every semester, and my guidance counselor would tell me that you need to take this. You might as well just take it now. And I waited till the last year of senior year. So it didn't really get better for me. I coped in the first few years a lot of times through drinking. I did have my one base group of friends, which was helpful, but it was a struggle. My point is that you can be a senior and still not feel super comfortable. And there's a lot of people like you who are seniors who you might assume, oh, everybody's got their group already. That's not true. It's not true at all. And even if people do have their group, people are still looking to connect. People are still looking to make friends. People make friends in college that they have for a lifetime, right? And it's also important to understand that even if you don't fully succeed socially in college, there's always room to grow. There's always room to make friends later in life. So if you are someone who's later in your college career, a sophomore, junior, or senior, do not write off the very real, true possibility that you can meet people. Now, if you're really, really anxious, as I've said in other podcasts, you want to figure out where am I right now? I've talked about creating a 1 to 10 scale. Figure out what you can handle. Can you try to join a group? Now, again, it's going to feel harder because you're going to tell yourself, well, people have been in this group for 2-3 years. Are they going to want a newcomer? Of course they're going to want a newcomer. Of course they're going to want a new face in there. Okay, they're probably sick and tired of each other. okay? Just because things seem like you're behind or you're going to have to introduce yourself, in a sense, this is an even greater challenge for you. That's a good opportunity for you to show that you can, I guess for lack of a better term, infiltrate a group of people, okay? And do not get rid of opportunities to meet people again out and about on campus in random opportunities. So look at your university to see what kind of groups do they have, what kind of groups speak to me, what kind of groups would I be interested in, and just show up. And let's make sure that we don't put so much pressure on ourselves to talk right away or to make a million friends in the first couple days. The truth is, because you're anxious, you're going to have a slow warm up. It's going to be a slow warm up process. Just go, feel it out, okay? Just see how people are. If they seem like a friendly group of people, you'll get a good vibe, and then just make sure you stick to returning and going back. In 4 years of college, I never joined a group, and I regret it to this day. I mean, I ended up making friends because I got lucky in the dorm room, and that's still a great opportunity. If you're living in a dorm room and they have like dorm events, or they have like common meeting areas, go to those areas, okay? One of the things that I never did because I was too afraid, we had a common area where you could cook, and people would cook in there, and I would never cook. It was a common area for the entire floor, and I would always stay in my room, and I would just order in, or I would cook in our little room, but we didn't really have like a full oven. Go to the common area and just see if you can cook and you can prepare. Be around people. People might try to rope you into conversations because you're around. If you're not ready to go out and have full conversations, just be around groups of people. Let's just start by being looked at, by being around people, okay? And then what'll happen is if people start to approach you, which they will, again, you're on a college campus, people are going to try to socialize with you. This is a good opportunity for you to test out what it's like to interact. If you're not quite ready to be the one to initiate, let other people initiate first. If that's what more is your speed, more your comfort level, the good thing about college is it's a social environment. People are always trying to socialize. Again, just be careful that it's not always including alcohol. You really don't want to go down the alcohol road, okay? So the big takeaways I think for this is let's stay away from alcohol. Make sure you're introducing yourself in class and participating right away. If you're really struggling, go to the counseling center, talk to your professors, let them know what's going on. I know that could be embarrassing, but it's better than not saying anything and just hiding it, and this thing's going to be following you, eating at you, okay? And make sure that you adjust your expectations for the college campus. It's a social environment. You can talk to people anywhere. I made that episode not too long ago about dropping sort of social expectations about when you can talk to people. Now we really get to drop it. Now there are no rules, okay? You can walk up to anybody in the middle of campus and just say hello. Just practice waving to people. Just practice saying hi to people, okay? If people are going to look at you funny for trying to socialize on campus, okay, there's something wrong with these people, okay? This is the whole point of the college experience, right? So instead of seeing ourselves as weird or awkward because, oh my God, am I allowed to do that? Can I just talk? Of course you can. That's what you're there for. You're there to learn, you're there to grow, you're there to develop. Find things that you're interested in, get involved in groups that you might be interested in, and just feel it out. Let yourself get in uncomfortable situations so that you can learn that you can adjust to this, okay? But my final point, again, I want to remind you that if you really think that getting even just a class is going to be a struggle, I would talk to your parents. Talk to your guidance counselor before you start, if you've already signed paperwork, whatever, and just let them know, I have really bad social anxiety, and these are my concerns about getting through class, and see how they can help you. I'm sure there are more services now than there were when I was going through it. All right? I hope you guys find this helpful. If you're a freshman, if you're going into your freshman year, or even if you're not, you're starting a new year in a couple months, look at it like it's a new year. Everybody's new, and there's always a new class of people coming in. There's always new opportunities to meet people and to talk to people. And yes, of course, there can always be judgmental people out there, But if there's ever an opportunity to just be able to say hello to a random stranger, it's on a campus, okay? So take your chances. It's really scary. It doesn't mean you're not going to get rejected. Of course you are. But understand that there are just as many people like you who are just dying to connect, especially your generation. You know, the numbers are very clear on this. This generation is more lonely, more isolated, less social, less likely to engage, but they're all craving it. Okay? So you can take that upon yourself for the other person. Look at it that way. I'm going to take the pressure off of them by taking it upon myself to start this interaction. I'm going to help them make a friend. Don't look at it like you're making a friend. Look at it like I'm going to help this person make a friend, and that makes it a lot easier because it's more coming from a helping, more of a helping attitude rather than from a defensive attitude or from a scared attitude. Okay. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any other questions or topics you guys want me to cover, you can always email me, and I will try to cover them if I feel they're relevant. All right. I'll probably make one on high school, and I'll probably make one about how to navigate the workplace with social anxiety as well. All right. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.